Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, did we do a moment of silence for Nick? I don't
We
remember.
did.
The last time,
We
yeah.
did. We did.
Okay.
So, for the first in-person meeting for Kara McLaughlin. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. How about we switch it around a little bit?
All right, on
Mr.
cue.
Attorney, how are you? All right, so everybody got the minutes? There was 2 sets of minutes, correct?
Yes,
One set was for the legislative and one set was for the public hearing. So why don't we take the public hearing first? So I have a motion to pass the minutes for the public hearing.
so moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No, looks great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
It's not my turn.
I don't know, it sounds like mine, but I guess they all sound the same.
We will stop for 1 second to look out the window. Okay.
It stopped. We're
The look did it.
good.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the legislative meeting from February 7, 2022?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, so we have a visitor tonight. And it's Kate Carroll from the Hudson Valley Clean Energy. Kristen, why don't we bring her forward so she doesn't have to sit
Sure,
there and
that'd
just
be
talk
great.
about it a little?
Sure, yeah, so as I brought up at the last meeting, just sort of speaking with some people that are sort of in this area, eco-pel people, et cetera, they suggested that we look into some potential benefits and financial incentives that the town could be involved with, and I realized in my 2 years on the board, I haven't really delved into whether the town could be registered, for the climate smart communities or the clean energy communities, et cetera. So I thought we should get some more information. And so I spoke to Kat. She did me a little quick presentation. I thought it sounded great, and I thought the board would probably love to hear some of the opportunities available to us.
Absolutely.
So 1 second, did we print out? We didn't print out any of the PowerPoint stuff, right? Okay.
If anybody wants to look on with me, I have it here.
Okay. Okay.
I have some brochures.
That'd be great.
Okay. Let me pull this out.
That's not it right there. That's not it right there, right under there. No.
This is the budget.
Okay. I thought I sent it to you, but
You
this
did, but I
morning.
don't think, yes, it's printed.
Oh, well, that was really dumb. Okay. That was not smart. Okay.
So this can just serve as a reference point.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Dan.
Oh, yeah. This is very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, this is good.
Oh, gotcha.
Brought them just in case. So thank you to the board for this opportunity to present a high-level overview of the Clean Energy Communities Program. It is a NYSERDA program designed to help communities achieve high-impact actions in regards to clean energy. My name is Kat Carroll, and I serve as a Mid-Hudson Clean Energy Communities Coordinator with the Hudson Valley Regional Council. The Hudson Valley Regional Council is one of 9 regional councils in New York State and over 600 nationally. We provide technical support to municipalities around the Clean Energy Communities Program, the Climate Smart Communities Program, and a number of various programmatic initiatives. So the leadership round of the Clean Energy Communities Program offers flexible grant funding for clean energy projects with no match, and creates pathways to lower utility bills for homes, businesses, and municipal buildings through a variety of high-impact actions. As a coordinator, I am available to provide technical support. Eleanor Peck is the coordinator for this region. She is out on maternity leave, so I'm covering for her. But she would be one of the people to contact. In the meantime, it's me. We also connect municipalities with entities that can support a community's completion of these actions, such as, in this case, Sustainable Westchester. So since the launch of the CEC program in August 2016, over 700 local governments have participated in the program. The leadership round expands the number of opportunities through which communities can participate from 10 high impact actions to 24. And also provides communities with more diverse pathways towards flexible, match-free grant awards. So local governments across the state have access to $17 million in grant awards, and each region has an allocation of $880,000 that's available only to those municipalities. There are 3 types of awards: designation, which is awarded after 4 actions are completed; point-based grants, which are awarded in this instance after 3,000 points are achieved within the program; and action awards, which are awarded after the passage of New York Stretch or the completion of a community campaign. So the grant awards and amounts differ by community size. If the town decides to move forward with adopting New York Stretch, for instance, the award would be $5,000, and that can go towards any clean energy project within the municipality or energy efficiency, something similar to that. If the town decides to move forward with a community campaign, it will be eligible for an additional $5,000 action grant. So I wanted to touch on the high impact actions that might be of interest to the town of Pelham. Those are all visible in front of you on the brochure. It's a short list because this program is designed to be high impact and achievable for communities. So the 24 actions are nested within 14 high impact action categories. The Unified Solar Permit streamlines the permitting process for small-scale solar under 25 kilowatts and essentially is achieved through the passage of legislation. There's template legislation, which if you're interested, I would be happy to send along. Energy code enforcement training involves sending 1 or more code compliance officials for the municipality to one of the Hudson Valley Regional Council hosted energy code trainings. And that's worth 200 points and 1 action. PACE financing, which only cities, counties, and towns in Westchester County
The first one.
eligible to adopt, and something that I understand that you may have already adopted, is an action that you can get credit for under this program. So you're 1 down, and you just need to submit some documentation there.
But I'm sorry, the first one we did as well. We actually
first
supported the solar, and we actually had presentations in the
Yeah.
townhouse, not once, twice.
Perfect. So I
For
would
my
be
time,
happy to
good.
send along documentation for that.
And we
as well.
also
That'd be
did,
great.
we also did the cleaning, heating, and cooling demo. And so,
Wonderful.
I thought we did all of this, not all of it, I'm sorry. But it seems like, who did you speak to that didn't seem to think that we did this?
Mary Ann is the one I've been speaking
Mary
to.
Ann,
Yeah.
Mary Ann, that was it. So
So-
is there any way to check to see that we have done this already?
So, absolutely. I have records of every community that's completed the actions. However, it's necessary to not only complete the actions, but to submit documentation for them. So if there is documentation for these actions, I can send you the requirements and the portal in which you submit it.
Which is really easy. It's like
Right.
1 page, and you literally, it's so easy to fill out.
I don't know if we submitted
I
anything.
don't think
doubt
so.
it.
Yeah.
I don't think
So
so.
it's a,
Yeah, I don't think anybody told us, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So for those actions that you have already completed, I can send you the submission requirements, and then someone from whoever, whether it's staff or a council member or a volunteer, can just submit that into the portal, and NYSERDA goes through it and approves it.
Great.
So it sounds like you've already done some of the actions, and since you have the list in front of you, are there any that are of particular interest to the town that you would like me to discuss? I don't want to go through the whole list and take up your time if there are
So
some that you've already done.
So, I don't know if you know how we're set up here in the town of Pelham. Do you know?
I did explain it to her a little
Yes.
bit, and a lot of these things wouldn't really fall under us, like the streetlights, for
Here's some
example,
homework
right?
when you go home, because that kind of tells you. So, I mean, we run this building, okay? We run the building next door.
Library.
We run the library. What else? That's about it.
Yeah.
So, if we were, what?
Buildings wise, yeah.
Yeah, buildings house.
Excuse me?
Buildings wise, I
Right,
think,
Right.
yeah.
right.
Right. What is, like, for instance, this 100% renewable electricity?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So that would be acquiring 100% renewable electricity for the buildings that the town manages. So those buildings that you just mentioned, it would just be acquiring renewable electricity for those buildings.
So you'd have to leave Con Ed and go to one of those outside people?
An ESCO, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is an option, but it's a little expensive given that these are New York recs.
Yeah.
They have to be New York recs
Yeah.
for that action.
Okay, all
But we
right.
could go solar and
Solar would be a
On
good
those-
idea.
roofs.
So that would definitely qualify as part of the clean energy upgrades action, in which you have to demonstrate a 10% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from
The
municipal
glower field
facilities.
lights, they were switched to high efficiency.
Yes, they were.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
You
Yes.
don't manage that building though, right? The
No.
school district does? No.
Yes, they were,
But I know
but they have not been put in yet.
No, all right.
But that's interesting. That would have nothing to do with us. That would have to do with the school district.
Right.
So it would have to be buildings that are owned by the municipality.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Could you talk about the benchmarking real quick, because that could be helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I like to describe benchmarking is it's like a mini greenhouse gas emissions inventory. And what you do is you collect the energy use, the utility bills for a period of 2 years. Sometimes that information is available directly from the utility. You enter it into a program called Portfolio Manager that's free online, and I provide training to whoever is going to enter that information, whether it's staff or a volunteer. And it essentially spits out a report that says this is the baseline of how much energy your buildings are using, and you can use that to pinpoint this building needs particular energy efficiency work. So out of the 3 or 4 buildings that you may have, I think that was around the number described, then you could look at that report and say, oh, this is the one where we need to focus our energy in terms of upgrades.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the benefits there.
And then if you improve, you get points or whatever, right?
Yeah, the clean energy upgrades. But there are a number of other ways to earn points, and one of them that I wanted to talk about was I wanted to talk about climate smart community certification, and I also wanted to talk about community campaigns, because I understand that you may have done something similar to a community campaign before, and it essentially involves encouraging residents to undertake community solar, to
That's
purchase
what we did.
electric vehicles, to do clean heating and cooling. So what would need to happen for that is you would need to submit a scoping document and then essentially do similar work with Sustainable Westchester to what you have already been doing. And sign up 5 more people for, it's 5 for clean heating and cooling, 10 for some of the others.
But
so-
I think like for the solar, I remember there was about 18 people that signed up for that. More signed up to get evaluated, but because of north exposure or west exposure or whatever.
Yeah,
But I guess we never submitted any of that. is
Yes.
what this-
yeah.
And so let me ask you a question. Maybe we can't submit it because they're in the
Our
town of
residents.
Pelham, but they're residents of Pelham Manor or the village of Pelham.
So the jurisdictional boundaries, they would have to be residents of the town of Pelham, but in our records, I believe it's just the town of Pelham and the village of Pelham. Is that correct?
I
Or-
believe so,
Okay.
as of the last time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think Pelham matters.
Right, right.
Yeah. So
So who would get credit for that? The village of Pelham or the town of Pelham?
the addresses are geolocated, so they take a GIS program and they look at the address that is provided and they say, is this located within the jurisdictional boundaries? So
Be the village.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too bad.
You
I-
could claim the manor though, if manor
Well,
is.
that's true. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking if you can claim the manor, it should be the town of Pelham, since the
Right.
town of Pelham
right.
joined, the manor
That's
did
right.
not,
Has not.
but I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I would have to look at the jurisdictional
Yeah.
boundaries, which I haven't done yet.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you would like more information on that, please let me know. Sustainable Westchester does a great job aiding communities with these programs, particularly the clean heating and cooling and community solar, as well as the demand reduction. The grid rewards program is what they call it. So they're a great resource. They do a lot of the back end work.
And that is who presented, wasn't it Sustainable Westchester?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who presented,
And
Yeah,
we-
it must
we-
have been
We
Lauren
actually
or
pay to
Claire.
be a member.
yeah,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. And so one of the other actions that I wanted to talk about, and then, you know, if there are any others that you're interested in, is the Climate Smart Communities program. The Climate Smart Communities program is essentially a planning process that helps municipalities undertake things like climate action plans, greenhouse gas inventories, etc. And the purpose of it is to prepare communities and residents for changes that will occur, such as increased heat or increased flooding. So that's one of the purposes of that program, and it was something that I had wanted to bring up because that is sort of that's the Department of Environmental Conservation that runs that program, but I also provide technical assistance there if that's something you're curious about.
I thought one of the issues for us probably is that you need a committee. You need to form a committee,
Yes.
and I don't know that we have the sort of
The volunteer.
numbers. We're very
Yeah.
small. you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. So, some municipalities actually choose to run a joint committee. So you could potentially work with the Village of Pelham and their volunteers. And typically what I advise is that there's one member of the board who serves as a liaison to that committee, but usually the rest of the time they're made up of volunteers who are
Okay.
interested in energy and the environment and interested in seeing their municipality
Okay,
move
so
forward
it's
on
not
those things.
out of the question. Okay.
Yeah, so that's certainly a possibility.
Okay.
And the final action that I had wanted to discuss, and there are a couple more, but the Clean Fleets action. This is one that a lot of communities have done work on before or are interested in doing work on, and there are actually grants available through the Department of Environmental
I think
Conservation.
I sent that to you one time, a long time ago. So yeah, and these are like rolling, like it ends,
Yeah.
but then next year we could do it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they'll reopen sometime in April or May.
Okay.
And they close sometime in October. So if electric vehicles or charging stations would be of interest and of use, then that's also a possibility.
Do we have any in either village?
I believe the school was gonna
Yeah.
put two at Hutch.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, when we took,
When they do the parking lot?
were you there for the tour? Or was it the recreation department? Maybe it's recreation.
Yeah.
They claimed they were putting in two. I don't know if they've been put in.
I just saw something tonight. I think that might have been there. I don't.
No, they're making the parking lot now, so they're just taking the school down, the
Is
old
there
school
something
down,
behind
and they're gonna put a parking lot in,
Rockwell's?
so that it makes sense that they would install.
It wasn't-
She
electric.
said, the superintendent,
Probably,
if I
definitely.
didn't
I think
misinterpret
there
her, indicated that that was for the residents as well,
Oh,
not
Interesting.
just for the school.
That's great.
If I understood her correctly back then.
I happen to be with, my cousin who has a Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
and the Tesla tells you where I'm only asking because it tells you where the next charging station is.
Right.
So I guess you have to register, like, is there some big global registration
Oh, yeah.
for electronic charging station?
There are maps that you can use.
But you can't use a Tesla station unless you've got a Tesla.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I didn't
Teslas are
realize that.
particular. They have their own
So he could
supercharging
use a
network.
regular old plug-in.
So what Biden is saying in his State of the Union is he was gonna invest all over the country,
In electronic.
correct, but not Teslas.
Okay,
Mhm.
wow.
Yeah,
Because they're
exactly.
doing their own.
They're doing their own, but they're the only electric vehicle company that is doing their own. And most of the major car manufacturers are actually coming out with EVs. Especially, GM made a major commitment recently to go all electric by 2030 or 2035. I'm not sure which. So it's definitely a change that's coming, and some municipalities find it helpful to have those charging stations. So I think that covers a majority of the actions. If you have questions about any of them, if you're interested in any of them, please do feel free to contact me. My email is on the back of that brochure, or it should be.
It is.
Okay, great. What I would say is that if the town of Pelham is interested in becoming a clean energy community, designated community, that requires the completion of 4 actions. So far, it sounds like you've already passed the unified solar permit and you've already adopted PACE financing. So you're 2 actions there. And you would just have to complete 2 more in order to qualify for clean energy community
I
designation.
think the
and
clean
achieve that
heating and
5,000
cooling
dollar
demo we did as well.
And so that's the heat pumps is the main.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
perfect. That would be another action. So it would just be 1 more. And benchmarking or energy code enforcement training are both really.
In fact, I know that because
That we
I
could do
looked at the
that,
heat
right,
heat
right.
pump
Yeah.
for my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see anything being done in this building or that building until the police move out from downstairs.
Yeah.
We got a big decisions and what we can do and can't do and how much it's gonna cost us. And I wouldn't put any money into this building or that building until we figure out what we're gonna do downstairs.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be sooner than later.
Yeah. All right. Well, this program is a 5-year program. It started in 2021. There was a
There you
previous
go.
round that started in
All right.
2016. So even if it takes a little while to get to that designation grant level, it's still a possibility.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for your time again. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the invitation to come speak.
And thank you for coming down
Yeah.
from Newburgh.
Thank you. That's a truck.
I didn't do Zoom call. I mean, I didn't end it because I wanted you to take the trip. I ended it because I thought we should finally get back together in person,
Yeah.
so I apologize for
It's
that.
important. No worries. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Benchmark now.
Yes, well, we could benchmark, and then we would, and then if we benchmark, then we optimize when we do fix things.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And the number will go down immediately when the police leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. You got a big one tonight, Deputy Town Supervisor.
Okay, I'll start with the stats first. That's easy to do. For the month of February, there were 29 calls on the Village of Pelham, 30 in the Village of Pelham Manor, 1 on 95 and 5 on the Hutch. 58% of the calls were answered in 6 minutes or less, that's the fly card. And for the month of March, the average response time for the backup was 6 minutes and 7 seconds. So, with that stat as the last stat I gave, leads me to a meeting that Dan, Rudy, and I had this morning with representatives from the Village of Pelham, the Village of Pelham Manor, and a gentleman named Gene Iannuzzi, who is an expert in EMS, and a resident from the Village of Pelham Manor, Mark Cardwell, I think is his last name.
Yes.
Who had an issue with the response time to an accident that he had. But he did bring up a lot of good points in his email, so we invited him. So I guess you could call this a community council that we had about EMS services. And the biggest issue that we're talking about is the response time of the backup ambulance, not the fly car. The fly car works, 99.9% of the time very well. It's the backup ambulance and the staffing in the backup ambulance that we receive. So a lot of great ideas came out of the meeting this morning. We are going to reach out to some communities locally to see if we'd partner on something, discussed our own ambulance and what that would cost. And so it's just in the germination stage at this point, but it was a good first step. for us to have all these people together, face-to-face talking about it.
Bless you.
There seems to be a big problem with mutual aid.
Across the county,
Yes.
not just
Pelham.
us. I just want to make sure that it's not just this municipality, it is across the county, and it seems to get worse each month. And so a letter went out from Westchester EMS to the providers of EMS in the county, kind of giving them stats on how horrible it is.
And is this COVID staffing related issues? Like the
It's
rest
been
of
progressively getting worse in the last couple of years.
Yeah, without you having to read that right now,
Yeah,
it's not only COVID
COVID.
related, it's, believe it or not, they were not called essential employees during the COVID thing.
Interesting.
No, there's double in that, that's one package, it's a double.
Okay.
So they were not called essential employees. There's also some issues with continuing a career in that. There's also an issue of some communities saying, enough is enough. I'm not gonna respond on that mutual aid, because there are certain communities, and I don't want to say who they are because I don't know all of them, but there's certain communities that have taken advantage of it and saved their own money so they could have other people come in. I mean, there's been times where we've had a mutual aid come in from Ossining, and even further. And you know, imagine getting mutual aid, you're lying on the floor, you're waiting for an ambulance and it's coming from Ossining, okay? The particular thing that caused this whole thing is when we saw how much was going on with mutual aid. So Lieutenant Bellantoni of the fire department, who's the liaison.
In Pelham, Village of Pelham.
He's the one that started a meeting with us about a month and a half ago. And then, unfortunately, when the resident, on the day of that accident on
the
Hutch, the 40 cars, that he slipped out of his house and broke his arm. And no EMS showed up because they were all at the, and then he sent Ray and I a pretty in-depth memo that we kind of knew he knew more than, it was like he was in the meeting we had with, and then we found out later, he is an EMS volunteer for Mamaroneck. So that's why we invited him to the meeting. So we've come up with several ideas. Again, one of them, do we get our own ambulance? Now, if we get our own ambulance, would it have been on the Hutch?
Probably.
It would have been.
Now, so.
That one didn't answer that.
Absolutely, it would have been.
So,
I know.
so, you know, somebody said you make a pact with the Eastchester, who has the volunteer one. Anyway, that's what we're in the process of doing, and we will be meeting with the Eastchester people. We'll be meeting with the
With Empress,
Empress, and we will be maybe putting out
an RFP,
an RFP for.
depending on what
Ah.
direction we decide to go.
It was very informative today, let's say
Very.
that.
It was a great meeting. And Lieutenant Bellantoni, I will give him a lot of credit. He's a dog with a bone right now, and he's gathering statistics. So that's why that 6.07, that minute response time for the backup, I can't go to Empress and say, well, like, that's bull, because they're using their own statistics, it's gonna come up that way. So, because he would say, no, that's not right. You ask every fireman in Pelham Village to count on when they get a call, that might be okay for maybe a week, but Village of Pelham Manor doesn't do it that way, so how do I gather the information from the Village of Pelham Manor? Because they're not the first responders. So, we have to kind of push that away and take what Frank has and take what Empress tells us and move forward accordingly based on what we decide to do. So,
I mean, basically, there was another thing that came out of that meeting. So when they give us wait time for the ambulance, is it the time that finally somebody agrees to send an ambulance, where they sent out for an ambulance and nobody responded, I'm not sending one, and then they finally get Ossining to send one? Is that what they're talking about, 6 minutes time? Or were they talking about from when the first guy said, no, I'm not sending you an ambulance? So we
So,
got,
yeah,
we got
that's right.
a lot of more.
We have work ahead of us, but it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It'll be better for the community, whatever, you know, the best we can do. I mean, thank God the issue is not with the fly car because it's such an important part. So it's really with the backup ambulance. And, you know, Empress is spread very thin. They were bought by a big conglomerate a couple of years ago. And they're investment brokers. You know, they're people who want to see their return. And as Dan would say, they should be paying us, Empress, because the business they're getting on reimbursable transports probably way outweighs a lot of this. So if Dan says they should be paying us.
I think the business model is flipped.
It's flipped, it should flip. So we just wanted you all to know that, and that'll probably be a standing committee, I would think,
Yeah.
That's great.
going forward to work on it and then bring recommendations to the board.
Does anybody know ballpark what an in-house one would be?
We have, first you gotta buy the ambulance, right? So let's say it's like the fly car, it's $150,000. That, as I
To
said,
equip it and get it all.
as I said in the
imagine so.
meeting, my problem is not buying it, it's now you're gonna be paying for the rest of your career, or
Maintaining it.
maintaining
And
and getting people,
staffing.
staffing.
Staffing it, right.
So,
Liability.
And liability.
and liability, yeah, we'd have to lift the liability.
Would it be volunteer or no?
Well, right now, we had a volunteer many
Long
years
time
ago. But no, it would not be in this particular case, unless we hook up with Eastchester. Now, that's a good question. Eastchester said they were willing to sit down with us. And what the lieutenant said was, it may be good for everybody because they may get extra people that want to volunteer. And at the same time, they can offload some of their costs. So we're gonna look at all of that.
Great.
But I think, to answer your question, I think anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000. If you,
Okay.
because if the fly car is costing us $250,000, I would think having an ambulance would cost us more, because they'd be transporting and there'd be the liabilities.
And you have to house it.
And, well, housing it, they said they would take care of, if you
Pelham
remember
Manor
today.
said
Pelham
they would
Manor
take
said
care
they'd
of
take
it.
care of it.
Where are you gonna put the fly car then, if they're taking,
Well,
well, I don't care, that's,
Yeah, that's,
right
you're
now,
right,
we don't
you're
have
right.
to worry about that,
Yeah,
but,
they can put it by Chirac.
I just wouldn't wanna be those first responders that are standing around waiting for
program, and they look at
that's.
the address that is provided and they say, is this located within the jurisdictional boundaries? So,
Be the village.
You
could claim the manor though.
They're waiting,
That's
they're waiting.
Well, I'm
They
thinking,
were supposed to be originally dispatched when the fly car went out, and then they were supposed to call them off, if you remember that.
yeah,
Well,
but
you have
because
to
of a
agree.
lot of things have changed, as the gentleman that
Right.
Gene told us. a lot of things.
And, you know, people are leaving, in general, they're leaving the EMT profession. They're not
Why
staying
is
there.
that? What,
Low
Because of the pay.
inability to move up career ladders, and COVID burned a lot of them out. And they just don't wanna do it
wow.
So-
It's-
Full job.
It's not a Pelham problem, it's a Westchester problem, and if you, when you read those, you'll see there was a letter sent to George Latimer on this as well. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Councilwoman McLaughlin, Recreation.
The February camps were strongly attended, and registration is currently open for the April camps, the spring sports event, and other after-school activities, and summer programming and camps. They are already getting lots of registrations in. I think this could be a banner year according to everyone. Couple of issues that were minor. We had, the people were locked out of one of the programs twice. We figured that all out. We're giving them a free session, the people that weren't there. We're gonna meet further with the SEPTA, the Special Education PTA, and work on additional inclusive programming and also programming specific to match the needs. Currently, there's a program over the summer. There's going to be a half-day camp for children with special needs, and it is being
Outsourced.
no, this one is actually through through the rec department.
Oh, great.
They're getting the special ed teacher, one of the special ed teachers to do the camp. Yeah. The problem with the outsourced one is the kids have to have a specific IEP.
Gotcha.
And if they don't have that, and apparently it takes a long time to get it, and you have to get it through the county. It's not a local, and you can't just get it from the school. They've started a monthly newsletter that will go out, yes. Right now, it's gonna be quarterly for the beginning of this year, and it's gonna be more of a review than so you'll see all your kids' pictures and the wonderful programming.
That's a
They're
good idea. We don't have,
Absolutely.
that's good because you
Yeah.
don't have Pelham Weekly anymore, where you
Exactly.
sometimes you would get the pictures in there of
So-
the,
Mamaroneck has been doing it, and I just keep passing the lines to
Right.
pass them along to Tim, and I'm like,
Absolutely.
Kara, I'm like, look how amazing this looks.
well, it's nice news too.
It's
so
great
It's very
not
happy
news.
news, and Ashley Beard from the rec commission is spearheading that.
That's
So
awesome.
she's terrific with that.
So great.
And then lastly, Pelham Together would like to, right now they have this Hope banner hanging on the trees in front of the gazebo, and they have a group of students who are knitting and crocheting, and they want to do an art installation on the trees outside. And it will have positive messages, hope, love, kindness, and they'll run it for 1 month. And the Art Center did a similar thing at the Wolf's Lane Memorial.
Yeah.
And they did that about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe.
Mhm.
So they want to do something similar, but it will be all local people. So I don't know how we manage getting approval
What
for that.
trees are they?
The trees just, where we hang those banners from, like those 2 trees and the trees around the gazebo and the town property.
There's a picture.
I'll send you the picture. We can discuss it.
Go ahead,
It's not
Dan.
gonna kill the trees, as far as we know.
No,
Well, that's, I wasn't even thinking about that, but that's a problem. Which we'd have to go to Ragno or what's his name? Olmsted. But number 2, I think the village of Pelham for that Fireman's Park has an art committee, which they have to go through to do anything. I'm not sure that we have the expertise to say, yeah, that's good, do that. I mean, I'm not really on top of this one
Okay.
right now. Anybody?
Well, is this like something that's been done other places before, or is this just a brand new
here's a
idea?
similar.
But is this like done
Yes,
all
it's
over
been-
different towns?
It's been done in
and-
other towns, that's where they.
So maybe we
got
could just
together.
reach out to someone there and say,
What?
are there any issues caused by it? I
That
mean,
would be great.
All right, I'll do
That
that.
would be great.
Okay,
That would make me feel a lot better.
all right.
Yeah,
We get some,
And I'll follow up with
referencing.
Laura.
Thank
She just sent this to me over the weekend, so.
okay.
they have a lot of good initiatives
They
going.
do.
Yeah,
they're
they
doing
do.
They
They
do.
Great stuff.
It's a little bit out of my,
Yeah, I know. Did she talk about the teen activities with you, Kara?
The what?
Doing teen activities under the rec? Did she bring that up to you, Laura?
No.
Okay, so maybe that was one of the things she had brought up to me before that.
Mhm.
That they had come up with teen activities and wanted to have programming, but I had gotten back to her and said, if you wanna do it through us, it has to be a rec-sponsored
Right.
program for all those issues, and she said, okay, so I was wondering if she,
This was gonna be under Pelham Together's umbrella,
yeah,
not Rex.
oh, so maybe they
Yes.
decided to do something
Yes,
separate.
one of the women who runs knitting programs in town, like classes, and she's gonna volunteer her time and do it with the kids.
Okay.
Any other questions for Kara?
Chris, just anything on the seniors?
Oh, the seniors are back on Mondays. They also, have availability to use the van if they need to go to doctor's appointments. They can either sign up through Carolyn or online, whichever's easier for them. There are specific times and they'll only go to specific doctor locations. All the West Meds are covered. The one where the old, where Lord and Taylor used to be, there's 2 or 3 doctors clusters over there, and I believe one other place,
The,
in New Rochelle.
the van is in session Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. 9:15 is the first pickup. 3 PM is the
Is the
last
last.
pickup. You need a proof of vaccination. They must wear a mask. Appointments must be made 24 hours in advance, for medical use only, no shopping, personal use. And the areas of service are limited to Pelham, New Rochelle, Larchmont, Eastchester, Bronxville, Mount Vernon, as Kara said, Scarsdale, the Lord and Taylor area, and Yonkers, Ridge Hill.
Maybe we could blast this somewhere, you know, it'll go on the website maybe, and
Well, I think it's on the
Distributed.
website, and I think we should have it as well.
yeah.
Here, is that yours?
Who wants this?
I'll take it.
Thank you,
Um,
Maura.
Yeah.
Part of the supervisor's report, I did go to the senior citizens Valentine's Day
Oh, how nice.
party.
Is that a dance?
We handed out masks, and then they asked me for tests. I didn't have any, so I went to the George Latimer's office. I asked them for tests. They sent me down 250 of them.
Oh, wow.
So they were handed out at the last senior citizens meeting. I didn't get to hand it out, so they didn't thank me. They thanked Callie, but they did invite me to their next gambling trip. And there were some interesting questions, which I answered. And I gave out my favorite handout, or Tim's favorite handout,
What the town of Pelham does?
Yes.
and what the student. So that was part of my supervisory report, but I thought I'd put it on
Thank
top of
you.
yours. Okay, thank you. All right, Councilwoman Burke on the court and legal.
Okay, so the court hired 2 part-time clerks. They're to begin on 3/15, and both are local to Pelham, and we're very glad to have them on board. Landlord-tenant cases are proceeding in their normal course. Unfortunately, the 9th District Administrative Judge is not allowing the remote arraignments any longer, and they are pushing them to become back in person. So that's, it was very convenient for everybody, but that's what is mandated. A COVID update, so Chief Judge DeFiore announced that they are going to be easing up on some of the COVID restrictions, such as the social distancing, jury trials. They could have, the jurors sit 3 feet apart now instead of 6, but they are still mandating masks in all open courthouse spaces. So I sent a note to Justice Kagan today, and he's sending it around to make sure it's reinforced that as of today, masks are still required. He was sending it to Chief Conti as well for the constables. So that's that. The question still about the radios, I think, I still have to get more information, and we could probably talk maybe sometime this week about what their needs are. They still may need a radio to be able to communicate with the other villages, so that's something to talk about. I'll hope to have more information the next meeting about that. And then just finally, I sort of forgot the passport. The passport issue is sort of still open and ongoing. Some of the issues that we've been having with the system. And I think, Dan, you reached out, I think, to somebody from the
Joe
state.
Orlando.
Okay, to assist. I assume you have not heard back.
He got back to me and told me that he's still reaching out to the person that he thinks is responsible.
Okay.
I subsequently had a conversation with John, the judge, and I don't know, again, I don't know who's on what emails, but it seems that some of the issues we had got solved this past month. We got a wire transfer now.
Oh,
Were you not on that?
not the
I'll-
good news
I'll
part.
get
I was
it.
on the bad news part.
I'll make sure you get a copy. of
Okay,
it,
great.
Okay, but, so, we got, originally, we were told we were gonna get money transfers, okay? It didn't happen, as you remember. And all of a sudden, when we started doing things and talking about getting together with Passport, all of a sudden, boom, we got our first TT sent to us. And we get a report from Passport.
Beautiful, beautiful, from Passport themselves, so we know exactly what it is,
So-
we're not relying on anybody else. That's
I-
great.
You know what? I think maybe you weren't on it because Patty was the one who initiated it, and she probably didn't realize that you should be on it.
Okay,
So I will send you all of those.
okay,
So I
Good news.
called the judge and I said, so what's our issue now? He said, we may not have an issue anymore.
great,
So
great.
he said, let it sit for right now until we see the next month. So I
That is
apologize.
very good news, thank you,
I
Dan.
apologize.
No worries. I don't have reports.
I sent them out on Friday, but
Did you really?
I did, but I
Why?
have a copy in case.
Usually print them out and I didn't see them today. Thank you very much. Okay, so then I'm gonna do the monthly statement, receiver of taxes for February 2022. County taxes from 2021 received in an amount of $6,941.65. School taxes received in the amount of $8,773,062.61. School collection fee of $73,703.57. Penalties and interest, $53,259.84. Liens, $64,725.60. Miscellaneous received $164. Pro ratas, $3,293.63, for a total of $8,975,150.90. It just dawned on me that the clerk's report, we did not do that last month. I don't know if we didn't put it on the record last month. It just crossed my mind. And you guys usually do that one, right? Sure. I'll keep going in the meantime. So the justice reports, for Justice Gardner for the month of, it always takes me a second to see these, for the month of February. Oh, no, sorry, for the month of January 2020, he received an amount of $14,083. And Justice Kagan for the month of January 2022, he received an amount of $15,189. And that's it for me. We had, from last meeting, we brought up the Healthy Yards Initiative, and we had Mary Ann Joyce, and she sent us some information on it. It was strange. I didn't see what she had sent. I asked her to resend it, but I only got it late today.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if, Dan, you got it and you had a chance to look at
I
it.
have not.
Okay. Just,
I have
yeah,
not.
it's just strange. I didn't see it. Might have went to spam initially or something. So, I mean, basically, they're just looking, no money from the town at this point. It's just some support using our town logo.
And she said Sustainable Westchester was behind it?
Yep.
Unless you've seen something in that email, does anybody have a problem with,
No.
I don't.
all right, so
All
let's
right.
just say she can put the,
There's no reason we should
No,
support,
no,
you
it's
know,
just-
things like that.
Right.
As long as we all agree
Right.
on
It doesn't,
Doesn't mean we have to take
we're not
any act,
beholden to
right.
it doesn't. We're not beholden
raising
to.
signs and
all in
whatever.
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I think it's, yeah, it also, I think a lot of residents are already doing a lot of the things that they're asking you to do, they just don't necessarily know they're doing them.
Right.
Cutting your lawn not so low and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And
Right.
mulching.
Mulching.
Mulching. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Curtin on the library.
Good evening. So there's not much to report from the library. They're operating on a regular schedule. At the meeting this past week that I went to, there was a discussion about the 50,000. There's 2 reimbursable grants that are outstanding, that now that COVID is kind of coming to a close, it's being brought up again at the top of the list. So
Remind me.
the first grant is a $500,000 grant from Amy Paulin, which, as we heard in the meeting, wouldn't really get you too much or too far as just updating or upgrading much in the library. The second grant was a $50,000 reimbursable grant from Senator Biagi's office, which was issued as a research opportunity for the library to hire a consultant to help us figure out what can be done with the library. Is there an appetite in town to have a major campaign, fundraising campaign? Are there enough folks in town willing to support that major campaign? And then figure out what's the value of, what does that campaign look like, right? Is it keeping the library where it is and adding on to it, creating a community center? Is it selling that property and partnering with a developer, much like Pelham House is doing with the police station and the fire station, to say, let's put our library closer into town where it's more, folks can walk to it and access it. So that was part of the discussion, and I know I have to, I was hoping the new governor would allow municipalities, would give the grants to municipalities to spend under their authority as a local government, but they won't. They want to keep the grants reimbursable, so they know that no one's just reallocating the money or using it
do other
towards-
things.
Right. So that's the current discussion, and it kind of coordinates with something that Councilwoman Burke has been working on, which is this initiative by some folks in town who want to upgrade the facility at Glover Field. I mean, facility is kind of I don't really.
loose term
Yeah,
for
it's
that
like-
building.
It's a restroom. It's a
Yeah,
restroom,
yeah,
some
exactly.
lockers. But there's apparently an initiative in town to figure out, could we raise money for this and what could be done here? And that property is very close to the library property,
Yeah.
so.
But the idea of, initially it started out as being, a gym for athletes, and then we said, no, we need something more, community center, a place for kids to go after school, to study, to hang out, maybe put a snack bar there, like a bigger community thing, computer rooms or whatever,
You
so.
have to negotiate with the school on those
Well, they're
things?
involved actually, they
Oh,
came
wow.
to our last meeting, so, yeah.
Really?
So
Yeah.
I was saying
Yeah.
to Councilwoman Burke and the president of the library, perhaps this is part of a bigger initiative where it's more of like a planning kind of an idea where you figure out what's the best, what does the town look like in 10 years? Like, where are these facilities? What programs are we offering? What kinds of things can we do to kind of create more opportunities for seniors and for
Mhm.
young kids and for, I think the age that Pelham Together serves, that middle school age before you drive and where you're really kind of relying on your parents, but you really don't want anything to do with your parents. I've just heard this is a thing, I don't know about it yet. But
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
but those kids are, seem to be kind of underserved in a way that we don't have, like a lot of towns I think struggle with this. There's not a lot of
Yeah,
to
activities
offer.
for those
Yes,
groups.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
When that field house was done, that was Joe Solomini's initiative.
Yep.
I was only on the board a couple of years, so that's gotta be 2004,
The
2000.
second year he was in, that's when he started working.
Yeah,
Cause he sent a letter to the Lola, the first letter he wrote, and they got money the second year. He put it on the list, so. By the way, speaking of lists,
Yeah.
can you do me a favor and see if you can get anywhere with, Biagi's office regarding reimbursement for the fly car?
Sure.
Cause we have our, what?
There's my point. That not only was the COVID the problem, Maura,
Yeah.
but I heard that it's getting very difficult to get reimbursed.
Okay.
And I know the library went to the bank to see if they could mortgage their place for the $50,000. I'm gonna say that was 12 months ago, 18 months ago. My big issue as the financial person of the town, the reimbursements coming out of the government is horrendous, and it's not only for Pelham. I heard from a lot of people.
Yeah, now that we have invoices, I'd like to get the money reimbursed.
Yeah,
So-
did you submit them?
I did not, because I've been asking her, I think there's another step yet, to be honest with
Hold on.
you.
Hold on.
But I asked her at the last meeting, and she never got back to me, so I think maybe,
Okay, you're talking about Angela?
yeah,
Okay, let me find out. I'm gonna find out.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you say Amy Paulins grant was
Yeah.
$500,000?
Do you know what that is?
It's been sitting there for a while.
But it's reimbursable also.
Yeah.
$500,000.
No, I think
No.
the $500,000 was for the elevator.
No, that's $325,000.
I don't remember this $500,000.
Neither do I, that's why
Yeah,
I
it's a few years old. I'm gonna say it's maybe 4 or 5 years old.
Was that for the extension?
Something to do with that.
Oh, when we were thinking about blowing out the children's
Yes.
room.
The basement? Oh, the
No,
side,
the
on the
side.
side?
We were gonna blow that out towards Colonial. And we found out that there would be a lot of other things involved in that, and whether the strength of the building.
Floods and stuff.
It was even more than 5
We
years
can't
ago.
even get
Yeah.
109 back. How are we gonna get
Yeah.
325 back, or 500 for
Yeah.
that?
It's an issue.
We don't have it.
But maybe it, based upon listening to the county executive, and today he had Tom DiNapoli
Mhm.
on the conference call, and maybe these federal dollars are gonna loosen up, and maybe we'll get back to where we used to be. That's the hope, let's put it that way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I gave part of my supervisory report when I got invited to the gambling trip. I also was part of a Zoom presentation along with Senator Biaggi, along with Amy Pauling and Jennifer and Chance with the school on a career of public service. And we did that, I think, 2 Fridays ago. And there was about 45 kids in the Zoom session. And it was well-received. And I told them you'd be crazy to go into public service.
You did
You
not.
told them you're a volunteer, basically.
Yeah,
Well,
we told them,
Jennifer said
I
that.
get paid $25.
Jennifer said that. But basically what I told them is that if you can do something good for the municipality, do it. If you're gonna do it just for, you want a soapbox, don't do it, because you're gonna get very frustrated. And then, after I spoke to the senior citizens, then I was invited to go talk to the Rotary. So I've been on a speaking
The
circuit.
circuit.
Yeah. So last Wednesday, I went to the Rockwells, to their meeting. Used my old stuff again.
That's gonna,
Uh,
after you do that
Yeah,
once, it's done.
Yeah.
I think I
But-
saw you do that like 2 years ago.
But I explained what the town's been doing for the last 2 years because of COVID, and some of the things we stopped, some of the things we started, everything. I brought them up to date, and they were very happy with that. I got a couple other things I'd like to talk about, like to announce, and maybe I'll give this to you, Maura. The mobile shredder is going to be here Saturday, March 26th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Town Hall. Parking lot, you've ordered the constables, correct? Right?
Yep.
Okay, good. And we're also gonna have the mobile passport, that will be here Tuesday, April 19th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. They not only do passports, they do notary services, and they were here relatively recently, could have been a year ago.
Yeah,
But
it was in the fall.
they were in the fall,
Yeah.
and I was talking to the gentleman outside,
You
and
said it's the 19th?
the April 19th,
At what hours, Dan?
10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in front of town
Do you
hall.
have to make an appointment?
If it's for
No.
your kids, you need
Stand on
to
one.
sit there too.
Yeah, you have to stand
You
online,
need both of them.
basically what it is. But when when I saw them, there weren't that many standing online. So could I give that to you more?
Yeah, yes, this is on the website.
Oh, it is already on the
It
website?
is.
Yeah, I got
Okay.
the blouse.
All
No,
right.
no, not the passport service yet, but
The shredder one is up.
Yeah, I'm still
Okay.
waiting for the details on
The passport?
the passport van, like they have to put out a new blast, so I requested that. But I did put it on the calendar on the website, just so
Okay.
people know it's coming, and I said more details to come.
Great,
Great.
thank you.
Really great.
Okay, so
Count on Molly.
we now have a storage issue that we need to deal with.
Okay.
We have voting machines,
Oh,
not Dominions. We have voting machines that are no longer in use.
Oh, God.
And we've been asked to give them back because they're not used anymore. So we needed a resolution to be done, so can I get a resolution?
I
Wait,
have, the
I'm confused, sorry.
Mhm.
We're giving them back?
Right, to the people that gave it to us.
No, we own them.
Okay,
We've owned them for years, but when the HAVA, law came out, I'm sorry, Molly, I'm stepping on your toes, but
No.
when they changed that law, we were supposed to give them back. So they've been reimbursing us all these years for the storage of these machines. In other words, the county was taking them over. That was part of the deal with that law. And, we just never gave it to them. I always thought there had to be some sort of,
clearing of the machine?
well, not so much
Oh.
clearing, but they have to be worth something. If we
Oh,
if
a
we got
value
them-
to it.
Yeah, but sadly, I spoke to Reggie Lafayette,
Uh-huh.
and it was very sad. It was like 3 days
Yeah,
before he
passed
passed
away.
away. And we had a whole conversation about it, and he was gonna send me information. Because obviously when Gloria was in there, it just got buried. We should have given them back years ago. And the county was kind enough to reimburse us for the storage,
and they're
so,
tied.
so now, but I will say that I thought those were the best machines. Working with all of the machines,
And
Is that the one that went?
The lever?
that you had,
The
the
curtains.
They're the best.
They are
I hate
absolutely
the
the best, but
ballot.
you can
Okay,
get the.
let's make the resolution, please.
This is the resolution I'm gonna read?
Yes.
Okay, chief. Whereas pursuant to New York State Election 3-226, the Westchester Board of Elections has allocated funds for the storage and maintenance of the town of Pelham's 25 mechanical voting machines. And whereas mechanical voting machines are now obsolete, having been replaced by optical scan voting machines. And whereas the Westchester Board of Elections will no longer pay for maintenance and storage of mechanical voting machines, but has agreed to take possession and dispose of the aforementioned mechanical voting machines in lieu contained storage and maintenance. And whereas the town of Pelham does not desire to take on the added cost of maintaining and storing voting machines, which now are obsolete, be it hereby resolved, the town of Pelham hereby authorizes turnover of the aforementioned mechanical voting machines to the Westchester Board of Elections for disposal.
So you propose second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Thank you. Listen, there's an insurance commercial where this guy brings around everybody around to the stores, the grocery stores and places and says, don't be like your father, don't be like your
Oh,
mother.
yeah.
Forget it. Forget it. What you liked or didn't like, forget it. It's
Well,
over.
thank you, Kara, for agreeing with me.
Okay. We have on our agenda from tax, forgiveness of taxes.
Penalties.
Excuse me?
Penalties.
Penalties, forgetting of penalties, I'm sorry, on taxes. I just want to remind the board one more time that, and I just sent it to everyone again, as a board, we are not empowered to forgive any penalties. And the only time we can forgive a penalty legally is if in fact we did something to cause those taxes not to get paid on time. i.e. we closed town hall and we didn't have the mailbox open and we forced that person to have to pay the taxes late. Other than that, we have no authority whatsoever to waive penalties. I'm sorry for the people that have sent us letters giving us reasons. Some didn't give us a reason, but I think all of you have that in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Well, there's one that I'm confused
You,
about.
use the,
Yeah, I'm not gonna say the name.
use the, what do you call it,
Yeah,
the,
Section block.
yeah.
what did I do with it?
Section
Oh, can I
block
take yours?
Oh.
Sorry.
05
No, I don't have.
167.38-1-17. It appears that the resident mailed a check, but it was in the wrong amount, and so it was returned, and then they asked for the resident to send a new check. And then the resident didn't see that communication and didn't send the check. So in this case, I'm unclear who's at fault there.
It's not us. We sent it back to them, they didn't open the mail, the wife, for whatever reason, didn't open the mail. My wife opens up every single thing that comes in the house. In this particular case, the wife didn't open up the mail, he was away. And because of the wife not opening up the mail, he didn't get the timely notice. Again, that's not something that we're at fault for.
Well, it doesn't say how much the check, I mean, if the original check that was sent was for $90, right? That doesn't make any sense, but.
No, it was short by 900.
Right,
The check is there.
oh, that was the new check.
I thought that was the new check.
No,
James. Where's
go
the old
ahead,
check?
go ahead,
The old
go
check,
ahead, go ahead.
the
like-
readout number was wrong, the number part was
See,
correct.
See, look at the written, look at the banks don't look at by the way, as an ex-banker, they don't look at, when you write in the number, when you put numbers in, they look at
Oh,
the
she,
printed.
oh, this is what she wrote.
They look at, not that,
Yeah.
yeah, they look at that.
Yeah.
And if you turn
Nine,
this,
nine.
if you read that,
I didn't know the banks.
that's not.
No,
I didn't know that,
I didn't
Dan.
know that either.
That
Yeah.
is something I did not know.
Yeah.
Really?
That's what,
So even though you write that number there,
Wow.
they look at that.
all my years on earth, and I never
I
knew
was
that.
Sometimes they do it the other way though.
It's not consistent.
I'm on, this is the only one I'm not, that's really unfortunate that that mistake was made.
I think what you ought to do is read what I sent you at the beginning of this meeting. We don't have the authority.
We followed every process here, right? It was the wrong amount, we sent them a notice. They didn't send it.
Unfortunately, she didn't open the mail. If she had opened the mail, it probably could have been taken care of immediately.
But we couldn't deposit, so what are we supposed to do?
Usually they do.
They just deposited?
They deposit it for the lower number. And then the
But
difference
we
would have
can't,
been.
we,
But then they still
we-
would have been
right.
we
unsatisfied.
can't deposit
Right.
a lower number.
A partial.
Oh, okay. Oh, you, okay.
We can't deposit a
yeah,
partial
okay.
They
payment.
don't take partial.
Understand.
You know, the bottom line is, and I happen to know this individual, the bottom line is, did you check your bank account? Did you see it wasn't taken out? I mean, when you write a check of that amount, don't you wanna see if it got taken out of your account?
I would, maybe there are other people who don't care about 10,000, but, you know.
Okay, so I just feel like we just need to make clear we just need to have a communication with folks about what we're able to do. Cause to your point, legally, we can't, it's not that we don't wanna, I'm not for I'm not for penalties and taxes, and that's not, I don't love taxes and penalties, so.
I'm sorry, you're asking for what?
No, I'm just saying, there seems to be, the residents of our town seem to think that if they write us a letter, we can make we can somehow, decide to forgive a penalty. And you're saying we can only do that if we're at fault.
Correct.
Okay. But
So I think
there seems to be
Charlie
this
tries
thinking, yeah,
tries
Very
to
much so.
make them understand.
yeah.
And if they give her
So it's by
part-time
law,
for
there's,
$1,000,
it's by
they
statute
probably
that
would.
you can't do
She
that.
says write a letter to the board, so
Right.
that's
Got
just
it.
something that.
Well, because she feels that she, and I don't blame her, that she's on the front line, and why
Right,
should she be on the
right,
front line?
right.
So if you really feel you need to speak, it's like when you get on the phone and you say, can I speak to your supervisor?
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you don't get the right answer from that one, can I speak to your supervisor? I am the supervisor.
You are the
You are the
supervisor.
I didn't mean it like that.
Okay, chief, he's on a roll.
I didn't mean it like that.
Oh.
But I don't blame Darlene for saying that, but, you know what, I will talk to Darlene to, I actually sent her a copy of that.
Okay.
So that's why I asked you for her, and I'll follow up tomorrow to make sure that she's read that. So if somebody calls, says, you can write a letter, but believe me, unless it's our fault, you're probably not gonna get any satisfaction.
So you sent us that via email before? you-
Just now,
Okay.
yeah, about 20 minutes
I
ago.
think
Do we
your
have-
packet is under there.
Hmm?
I think your packet is under this.
Do we have to, vote on each one of
You don't
these
have to do that letter. Yes.
We have to vote.
Or do you wanna vote?
en masse when we
Yeah.
look at them all? Or do we have to vote one by
There
one?
is no vote.
There's no vote.
Oh, there is no vote.
There is, it's
thought we
it's
did
no
that.
action.
Oh, no action.
taken on.
So no action taken on the first lot number that you read? Did you get that lot number, Molly?
She hasn't voted.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, very good.
Is no action taken on lot number 05166-36-1-57. There's no action taken on lot 0315876-2-45. There's no action taken on 05166 period 27-2-48. Thank you.
Isn't there some relief, like, I get Bowman's, emails, you know, his blast. There is like relief for homeowners with COVID or something more, do you know anything about that? I wonder if any of these people, it would, you know, fall within like, yeah, I haven't read them
There
carefully,
was
because I
only
always
one
got
that
them, but,
mentioned COVID as the reason.
okay, yeah.
That, we did have that in place, but it ended, correct? Wasn't there something about
It was-
COVID, but that's?
It had nothing to do with penalties and it
Oh,
had-
it
No,
has to
I
do with
mean
ability
like
to pay.
state or federal relief. I could swear I read Biaggi's and Bowman's messages, and I swear it wasn't that long ago that they still have some kind of relief for like homeowners relate, you know, COVID related. So I don't know if we,
Well, this is the school tax, and this is the one that hurts, because it's 10%, and the clock starts ticking in September. So it's up to you, I mean, you could pay your whole tax bill in September. It's a great, you know, they give you that grace period to
Mhm.
pay the second half.
mhm.
So that's why it's so high. Other taxes are not that, the percentage rate is not
Yeah,
that high.
it's really high.
So,
I don't know why people don't do it through their mortgage company.
well, maybe they don't have a mortgage.
Yeah, they're-
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people, they don't have mortgages anymore.
One story was,
They may not
we
have
just
one.
moved, so they clearly have. a
Well,
mortgage.
yeah, that's, I feel bad for her, but that's what happens when you buy a new house.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, it's-
anybody have any new business?
Did we need to bring this up at all?
Mr. Tom?
The
Oh.
Just,
baseball?
congratulating the Pelham
Yeah,
varsity
I
hockey
think
team
that's a
on
good
winning
idea.
regionals
Why'd you bring
and
that
up?
Final
Oh,
Four this weekend in Buffalo.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
You know, it always, I'm always suspect when I have to congratulate somebody for going to Buffalo.
Buffalo was fun.
Buffalo.
You don't have to approve this, this is.
Not
Yeah,
approved,
so
but-
we have in our packet a letter from Mayor Chance Mullen, asking us.
No.
No,
It's
sorry.
from
I'm-
John Ness.
John needs to
Sorry,
check.
I'm reading it way too quickly. Okay, the head of Pelham Little League. I see, yeah, it was 2 Chance, but we're also public officials and it affects us. Requesting that on Saturday, April 23rd, the use of Fifth Avenue from Lincoln to Wolf's Lane, for, I guess, the parade, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. And
It's
then-
really inviting us to attend.
yes.
Well,
If
they
we
need
had
the
any-
use of the streets, right?
If we had any,
That's not under us.
concerns, we
Yeah.
would let them know, but it's nice that they let us know that they're.
Very nice.
Yeah,
What happened last year is the chief last year and the year before, the chief didn't want to run a parade because of COVID.
Oh, right.
Chief,
Police.
banquet?
Mm.
No,
Oh, police?
police.
Oh,
So that's kind of,
that's big
Oh, I
then.
didn't know that.
I had a big conversation with them about the Memorial Day Parade
Mhm.
and the Little League Parade. So,
Guess we'll be having a memorial.
John spoke to me about a month and a half ago and said, Dan, what do you think? I said, based upon what's going on, I think you'd have no problem having a parade now.
No
Okay.
Public comment.
Yes, now we have public comment. Yes,
Public
Thank
is
you.
here.
Darren Zielinski, 61st Street. It's lovely, this is my first, I think my first in-person meeting in 2 years. And I'd like to start with a suggestion that on the website, you note that it's in person, as somebody who spent the first 15 minutes trying to log on, just out of habit. So clarify that.
We did that. we did that.
Yeah, it's on the website.
It doesn't say in person, it says
Fine.
meeting, and then I clicked on, it let me click onto a Google link. It doesn't,
I think
yeah.
it's in two places. I think that's our issue.
Yes.
Because
I
I
had that
told
problem.
Molly
Right?
back
Like
on
all-
Tuesday.
You think we're
that she was
fixing
gonna
it
do
in one spot, but then there's
Anyway.
another
It's
spot.
It's always
posted in
Yeah.
news.
Anyway, from now on, it'll be the exact opposite if we don't meet in person.
Right.
So that said, I found out today that New Rochelle is flying the Ukrainian flag in addition to theirs. And I don't know what our flagpole options are, or that I would feel like it should be instead of the American flag, or I don't even know if we have a town flag. But as I was sitting here waiting for public comment, a friend of mine just shared with me a message that she got with a mom who she knows who's Ukrainian was killed by mortar fire today, trying to evacuate with her 2 children. And she sent it to me and said, I just want people to know that she was alive.
Oh.
She also got in touch with me this weekend because another friend of hers was killed going to feed dogs in a shelter on Saturday. And we all know it's happening. I know it's just a symbol, but it's what we have available. If there's a process for flying flags to honor other causes, I wonder if we could submit that flag to the process.
Our flagpole is for the United States of America flag.
Is
Well,
it
but we
possible
could
to
put
put
it,
underneath?
I haven't finished.
okay.
I haven't finished. If somebody wanted to put a flag between the trees,
Right.
no problem. But the flagpoles, since I've been here and before that, is for the United States flag. But showing support and solidarity, I'd have no problem granting someone to put.
And people would see it better over there, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
If it's
yeah.
over there on between the
Between
two
the
trees,
trees.
they're not gonna see it, cause it's kind of
Agreed.
back over there.
It's where we put like all the banners
Yeah.
and, yeah.
Would I talk to you about that?
Yes.
Okay, I'll follow up with
And
you.
right now, there's a hope
Yeah.
for something else, so that would be beautiful. Yeah.
I know, I'm not sure if I did it, I've flown promotional things, I can't remember honestly, it's been a couple of years if I went through the town or the village, but I would, just happening to be here listening to this discussion about the kids wanting to fly things, I would just encourage the town to create a process rather than being ad hoc, so that you don't have people coming in and saying, well, you said yes to them just because you felt like it. So, as much as I'm in favor of the Ukrainian thing, I support that there are steps you have to go through to be official. And also, because I happen to be sitting here, hearing what you're talking about, I noticed that the seniors were asking you about COVID tests, and I had requested the 2 the government was providing, and probably like other people, I got them 2.5 months after I requested them, by which time I'd already bought other ones. If there's any collection point where we could donate unused
Oh, I like
just
that.
Yeah.
That's a great
that would be a
idea.
great initiative for the town to just facilitate it if you don't wanna store them for the seniors or whoever might need
Oh,
them.
that's
'cause
so
I
I
don't
have
know
to
where-
check the expiration dates, their expiration dates are really,
That's the problem.
That's the
They're
problem.
quick.
Actually, the ones that I picked up
Mhm.
were expiring, well, no, some of them were. Most of them were expiring in April.
Yeah. I had some-
So,
Really?
by the way, I'm glad you brought this up. Do you know you can order another 4 more?
yes, they just came out.
Okay, do you know?
I didn't, but I.
COVIDtest.gov.
I don't need any more, I just don't wanna throw out the ones I have, especially if
Yeah.
they've only got a month left, so I don't know if that's the
I think
town's
that's a
role.
great idea. Well, yeah,
but-
through the senior advocate, I mean, she could.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
we
senior
could just have a
advocate.
drop-off point
Drop-
if you have
yeah.
extra tests.
That'd be
and then
great.
That's
I'll
a
touch
good
base
great,
with her.
I love that
I'll follow it
idea.
up, you know,
I'd love to
before
keep them
this.
in town.
Really good.
And then one last thing too, to the library. I don't know that this is gonna be popular, I brought this up, pre-pandemic with the library, leadership. But I'd love for us to reconsider having the library closed on Sunday. It's one of the busiest.
I'm sorry,
On
Closed on
Sundays, right now
Sunday.
it's closed on Sundays.
Right.
And I get that we may not be able to afford having it open 7 days a week, but Sunday is one of the higher use days with libraries that are open 7 days a week. It makes no sense to me that on a day when families are home and they could go, that's the day we're closed.
and that's the reason we can't get people to work Sunday.
Right, we
That's
tried that
It-
before.
We tried to do a Sunday, we couldn't get
did.
anybody to work. They turned around and said, I wanna be with my family on Sunday.
Yeah, it strikes me that that's a little tail wagging the dog, that people don't wanna work because they're at home too.
I don't know
Well,
what
just-
pirouetting
we
the
did
dog
try.
means.
Meaning that the library exists to serve the community, the need in the community is strongest on Saturday and Sunday. And so rather than saying, well, we can't because our staff can't work then, it should be a requirement that we need staff that's able to work when we need staff.
Okay,
Not a library that's
okay,
able
but
to work when we have.
pirouetting the dog?
The tail.
Tail wagging the
Tail wagging
dog.
Tail
the dog.
wagging the dog, I thought you said pirouetting.
If I'm
You know,
not
it's
mistaken,
sorta
the
like-
usage was
what?
not-
Well,
Yeah.
I will interrupt you
Yeah,
there
'cause you're on
because
the
I
board.
was here
You
and
want
the
to,
stats that came from the library were horrendous on Sunday. There was no usage. So it was there
Mhm.
and nobody went. I'll get them to pull that report, they should have it.
I'll bring it up to the library
I was
board.
just gonna say,
Yeah.
but maybe they do
Yeah.
another poll.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe if there's a rotation, I mean, you certainly shouldn't have to work every
Exactly.
Sunday.
Sure,
but
yeah.
Maybe there's a once in,
It
you
was-
know,
But
once
maybe
a-
you ought to take a
Extremely
poll
low
first
usage.
of the people that get the library information.
Sure, that's a
Uh,
good idea.
And I'd be willing to call around too, to see if I can poll the closest 4 7-day-a-week libraries, to see, not that that absolutely translates, but it would be helpful to see if they have stats on the percentage of usage for each
It's
day
a
of the
good
week
indicator.
in New Rochelle, or whatever's big, is open 7 days, so I'm willing to do some homework too.
There may be, I don't know this answer, Ruth Ann, but do you have to pay extra for that Sundays?
Paid
I
staff.
don't
You work,
remember. Not for part-timers.
Not for part-timers.
I wasn't talking part-timers.
Well, that's probably who would work, maybe.
No, you'd have to have it
Yes, I
librarian.
think we did, as a matter of fact. I mean, I don't know what
It's
year
years
that was, but I'd
ago.
have to look
Oh, it was
back
years ago, I remember that.
and see. But I think that there was a.
Well, you'll go to the
I'll
board,
find out, yeah.
you'll
Thank
do
you.
some
No problem,
talking.
Sure.
And I'm sorry I'm sorry I misinterpreted the dog in the tail. I was just thinking of a pirouette.
I probably mumbled.
No, I got hearing.
Although speaking of the library, how did the Pelican ice carving go?
Oh,
I couldn't make
yeah.
it.
That was
Popular.
a phenomenal event.
But it was
Everyone
so
loved
hot
it.
out, I was like, that thing is gonna melt in 2 seconds.
It did not,
It
and
didn't?
it did the, and
Yeah.
having the food
Oh,
there,
yeah.
I never,
I had
and I
something
met
that
so
morning.
many new people, everybody with a
great.
kid under 5 was there, and
It
it
was
was
a beautiful day.
phenomenal.
I don't know what the chemical reason for this is, but I don't know if you remember, when we did Hanukkah, I'm going to
Yeah.
say 3 years ago, they did,
Yes,
and
And
that
that's
stayed.
thing. Yes.
And it was.
although
it-
that was colder, this
No,
was.
it wasn't that cold, that was the problem. I thought the next day I was gonna come and see a puddle, the next day it was still there. But there must be some
They
chemical
must
thing.
put something in it
Got
that,
it, got it.
Maybe,
Yeah.
they might put something in it. Good point.
Executive session tonight? Yes.
If somebody wants to have one, please propose it.
Oh, yeah, thing, so-
Do you have it for the court?
You wanna propose
Yeah, I propose we go into executive session
for a
Second.
personnel
for
matter?
a personnel matter.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They'll have that
They're dying, everybody's dying of these allergies.
It's only in my house.
Yeah, my daughter's
What?
the
She
same
wouldn't give
way.
me any written material.
Who?
Cat.
Who? Here, you can have that. Enjoy
Is
it.
there anything, hard stuff?
No. That's okay.